I'm Olivia, and my life's been a wild ride. Like a song that starts soft and sweet but ends with a gut punch chord you didn't see coming. Huh. Picture me at 29, a musician and producer in Austin, Texas, where the air smells like barbecue and dreams. My story kicks off in a cramped garage, my teenage sanctuary, where I turned my dad's old tool shed into a makeshift studio. With a secondhand mic, a cracked laptop, and chords I scribbled in notebooks, I poured my soul into songs about love, heartbreak, and chasing stars. Those early days, I'd strum my guitar until my fingers bled, dreaming of headlining SXSU, Austin's indie music mecca. One day, I'd whisper to myself, I'll stand on that stage, and the crowd will sing my words back to me. Music was my oxygen. I started small, gigging at dive bars and cozy spots like the Cactus Cafe, where the wood-paneled walls soaked up my nervous sweat and the crowd's cheers. I was nobody, just a girl with a guitar and too many feelings, but every clap felt like a step towards something bigger. Back then, I lived in ratty jeans and thrift store boots, scraping by on tips and hope. My parents, God bless them, never complained about the noise from the garage. Dad would poke his head in, holding a beer, and say, Liv, that's a hit. I can feel it. Mom would bring me sandwiches. I'd worried I'd starve chasing my dreams. Their faith kept me going, even when I doubted myself. Then there was Ethan, my husband, my rock. We met at an open mic night when I was 22, both of us broke and starry-eyed. He was this lanky guy with messy hair and a smile that could melt ice, scribbling poetry in the back of the room. I sang a song about falling too fast, and afterward, he slipped me a napkin with a line. Your voice is a map to places I've never been. Corny, sure, but it worked. We fell hard, sharing cheap tacos and late-night talks about our big plans. Ethan wasn't a musician, but he got me. He'd sit through my gigs, clapping loudest, even when I flubbed a chord. When we got married at 25, in a backyard with a fairy lights and my cousin's band playing, he vowed to be my biggest fan. You're going to be a star, Liv, he'd say, kissing my forehead, and I'll be right there with you. We were a team, splitting rent on a shoebox apartment and pooling our cash for gear. Ethan worked odd jobs, bartending, freelance writing, while I wrote songs and booked gigs. He'd brag about me to anyone who'd listen, saying, my wife's gonna blow you all away. But sometimes late at night, he'd get quiet. Once, after a killer set at a packed bar, he hugged me and mumbled, you're getting so big, Liv. I feel kinda useless. I laughed it off, thinking he was just tired. You're my anchor, Ethan, I told him, kissing him. I'd crash without you. I meant it. Back then, I thought music and Ethan were all I needed to conquer the world. God, I was naive. Life was good, though. Austin's music scene wrapped me in its gritty, soulful arms. I'd play at hole-in-the-wall venues, the kind with sticky floors and neon signs, and feel alive. The city pulsed with creativity. Street buskers, dive bars, festivals. I'd walk down South Congress, guitar case bumping my hip, and feel like I belonged. My songs, raw and acoustic, that started catching ears. I'd post them online, hoping someone would care, and a few did. A couple thousand streams here, a local radio spin there. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Then, out of nowhere, everything changed. One of my old tracks, a bittersweet ballad called Fading Light, blew up. I'd written it years ago, in a dark moment about losing someone you love. I recorded it in the garage, just me and my guitar, voice cracking with emotion. Somehow, a TikTok influencer, a kid with 1 million followers, used it in a video about heartbreak. It went viral overnight. My phone buzzed like a hornet's nest. Notifications, DMs, emails, labels called, offering deals with zeros that made my head spin. A Hollywood producer wanted the song for a movie. A sports drink brand begged me to do a commercial. My streams skyrocketed, 10 million, then 20. I'd refresh the numbers, heart pounding, thinking, oh, it can't be real. I was dazed, like I'd stepped into someone else's life. Ethan was over the moon, spinning plans for our future. We'd stay up late, splitting a bottle of cheap wine, dreaming about tours and Grammys. This is it, Liv, he'd say, eyes bright. You're a star. I'd laugh, nervous, and say, I just want to keep making music. But the world was watching now, and the spotlight was blinding. SXSW scouts reached out, hinting at a main stage slot. My dream was so close I could taste it. like the tang of whiskey on a good night. But here's the thing about light. It casts shadows. I didn't see it then, but cracks were forming. Ethan's excitement felt off, like he was chasing the fame more than I was. He'd talk about branding and scaling, words that felt foreign in our scrappy little world. I'd catch him staring at his phone, smiling at messages he wouldn't show me, and that comment about feeling useless, it lingered. A sour note in our harmony. I lie awake, listening to Austin's cicadas, wondering if I was missing something. It's just the stress, I told myself. We're fine. We're happy. I was wrong. That viral moment, that glittering new chapter, wasn't just a beginning. It was the start of a storm that would rip my world apart. I thought I was climbing to the stars, but I was about to crash, hard. And the people I trusted most, they were holding the knife. The spotlight was blinding, but the shadows were creeping in, and I was too damn naive to notice. I'm Olivia, still reeling from my song blowing up, my phone buzzing with offers that felt like a fever dream. Austin's neon lights and sticky bar floors were still my home, but everything felt different, like I was walking a tightrope. Ethan, my husband, my anchor, wasn't acting like himself. The man who used to cheer me on with a goofy grin was morphing into someone I barely recognized, obsessed with building the Olivia brand. It was like he'd traded his heart for a calculator, always yammering about profits, deals, and the next big move. I'd catch him pacing our tiny apartment and muttering about scaling up, his eyes darting to his phone like it held the secrets of the universe. We're going to be unstoppable, Liv, he'd say. But his voice had this edge, like he was trying to convince himself more than me. I wanted to believe it was just the pressure. My viral hit, Fading Light, had turned our lives upside down. Labels were throwing contracts at me, Hollywood was calling, and some sports drink company wanted my face on their ads, and, I was drowning in emails. My inbox a war zone of dollar signs and deadlines. Ethan was supposed to be my safe harbor, but he was drifting. He'd snap it at me over nothing, spilled coffee, a missed call, and then apologize, saying, "It's just stress, babe." But stress doesn't make you lock your phone with a new password. Stress doesn't make you smile at texts you hide when your wife walks in. I'd lie awake, the hum of Austin's cicadas mocking me, my gut screaming that something was wrong. He's just overwhelmed, I told myself, clutching my pillow. We're fine, right? Then Isabel slithered into our lives, and everything went to hell. She showed up at a gig, all sharp cheekbones and sharper ambition, introducing herself as a digital music marketing expert. Picture a woman in her early 30s, rocking a tailored blazer, oversized sunglasses perched on her head, tossing around buzzwords like game changer and disruptor. She had this polished, predatory vibe, like a fox in stilettos. Her smile, too perfect. Her handshake, too firm. Olivia, your talent is raw, but your strategy, amateur, she said, leaning across a sticky bar table, her perfume choking me. I can make you a global name. Trust me. Ethan was all over it, hanging on her every word like she was handing out gold. She's the real deal, Liv, he said, eyes gleaming. I nodded, uneasy, but figured we needed help navigating this new world. God, I was an idiot. Isabel moved fast, setting up strategy sessions at our apartment, her laptop glowing with charts and projections. She'd talk about leveraging my viral moment and monetizing my authenticity. Words that made my skin crawl. Ethan ate it up, scribbling notes, nodding like a bobblehead. But I started noticing things. They'd have late-night meetings, whispering in the kitchen while I was in the studio. I'd come out for water, and they'd go quiet. Isabel flashing that fake smile. Just crunching numbers, Olivia, she'd say, her voice syrupy. Ethan would avoid my eyes, fiddling with his phone. Then came the business trips. New York, Louisiana, always last minute, always vague. It's for your career, Liv, Ethan would say, tossing clothes in a bag. Isabel's got connections. I'd ask to see his itinerary, and he'd snap, "Why don't you trust me?" His words stung like a slap I didn't see coming. The worst was the contract. Ethan and Isabel kept pushing this joint venture deal, a stack of papers thicker than my songbook, crammed with legal jargon I couldn't decode. It's a no-brainer, Liv, Ethan said, his voice tight, like he was begging. This ties us to Isabel's firm, secures the big deals. Isabel chimed in, all charm. You focus on music, Olivia. Let us handle the business. But something felt off, like a sour note in a melody. The contract mentioned shared royalties and asset management, terms that made my stomach churn. I'd stare at the pages, my head throbbing, feeling like I was signing my soul away. "Can we slow down?" I asked once, and Ethan's face hardened. "You want to blow this chance?" He shot back. I backed off, hating myself for it. Others saw the red flags I ignored. My brother, Daniel, a tech nerd with a heart of gold, came over one night, eyeing Ethan like he was a virus. Over beers, he leaned in and said, "Liv, Ethan's chasing clout, not your dream. Watch your back." I brushed him off, thinking he was just being overprotective. "He's my husband, Dan," I said, forcing a laugh. "He's got me." Then Arthur, my mentor, a grizzled producer who'd seen it all, pulled me aside after a session. "Heard about Isabel," he said, his voice low. "Her last assistant quit, said she was a snake. Be careful, kid." I nodded, but my loyalty to Ethan drowned out the warning. Then came the email, anonymous from someone named Ben. "Isabel's bad news," it read. "Check her history. Protect yourself." I deleted it, chalking it up to a jealous troll. Why would I doubt Ethan? He was my partner, my love. But the doubts kept piling up, like storm clouds over Austin's hills. Ethan's phone was a fortress now. His passcode a wall between us. He'd vanish for hours, claiming meetings, but his clothes smelled like perfume that wasn't mine. Isabel was always there, her laughter echoing in our apartment, her texts lighting up Ethan's screen. I'd catch them exchanging glances, quick and secretive, like they were sharing a joke I wasn't in on. My heart would race, my hands shaking as I tried to focus on my music. I'd sit in my studio, strumming chords, but the notes felt hollow. "I'm being paranoid," I'd mutter, staring at my guitar. "Ethan loves me, doesn't he?" Every night, I'd replay our life together, taco runs, late-night jams, his hand in mine at gigs. Those memories clashed with the man he was becoming, and it hurt like hell. I wanted to confront him, to scream, "What's going on?" But fear stopped me. What if I was wrong? What if I was right? The contract loomed, a ticking bomb on our kitchen table. Signing it felt like jumping off a cliff, but Ethan's pressure was relentless. "This is our future, Liv," he'd say, his voice sharp. Isabel's smile haunted me, her promises dripping like honey over poison. My gut screamed, "Don't sign!" But my heart still clung to Ethan, to us. I was standing on the edge, and I didn't know it was about to crumble. I thought I knew pain, but nothing prepared me for the knife. Ethan and Isabel drove into my heart. My world was unraveling, the cords of my life snapping one by one. Austin's neon glow felt like a cruel joke now, mocking the dreams I'd built with Ethan. My viral hit, Fading Light, was still climbing charts, but the spotlight only lit up the cracks in my marriage. Ethan's late-night meetings. With Isabel, his locked phone, that damn contract, they weren't just red flags, they were a screaming alarm I'd been too blind to hear. I'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, the cicadas outside chanting my failure. "How did I miss this?" I'd whisper, my chest tight. "How could I be so stupid?" I couldn't ignore it anymore. That contract, a brick of legal gibberish, sat on our kitchen table like a guillotine. Ethan kept pushing, his voice sharp as glass. "Sign it. Liv, it's our ticket." Isabel, and I's fake smile, hovered behind him, her perfume choking the air. My gut screamed no, but I needed proof. So, I took the contract to Arthur, my mentor, the only one I trusted to see through the fog. We met at his studio, a cluttered cave of vinyl records and cigarette smoke. He flipped through the pages, his face darkening. "This ain't a deal, Liv," he growled. "They're trying to make you a puppet. Shared royalties, asset control, they'll bleed you dry and leave you with nothing. Eat." His words hit like a punch. I sat there, hands shaking, picturing Ethan's smile when he handed me the pen. He wouldn't, would he? I needed answers, and I wasn't waiting for Ethan to fess up. My brother, Daniel, was my next call. He's a tech wizard, the kind who could hack a vending machine for fun. I met him at a greasy diner, the kind with flickering lights and coffee that tasted like regret. "Dan, I need you to dig," I said, sliding him a USB with Ethan's login scraps. "Something's wrong with Ethan and Isabel." He raised an eyebrow, but nodded. "I told you he was shady, Liv. Give me a day." I hugged him, my throat tight. "Thanks. I just hope I'm wrong." Daniel worked fast, By midnight, he'd cracked into their project management platform, exploiting some security flaw I didn't understand. He texted me a link and a warning. Brace yourself, sis. I sat in my studio, the glow of my laptop burning my eyes, and opened the files. What I found ripped my soul apart. Emails between Ethan and Isabel, flirty at first, then straight up intimate. Photos from their business trips, her head on his shoulder in a New York hotel, his arm around her in LA, their smiles mocking me. My heart pounded, my hands clammy as I scrolled. Then I saw the plan, a cold, calculated blueprint to screw me over. They wanted me to sign that contract, funneling my royalties into accounts they controlled. Isabel wrote, "Olivia's too naive for business. We'll take the cash and run." Ethan replied, "I don't want to hurt her, but this is our shot." Our shot. I stared at the screen, my vision blurring. "You bastard," I whispered, tears burning my cheeks. "You sold me out." There was more. They'd mocked me, laughed at my small-town dreamer vibe. Isabel's email sneered, "I don't get why she's such a big deal." Ethan's response gutted me. "She's got talent, but she's clueless. We're doing her a favor." A favor? I slammed my laptop shut, my breath ragged. My songs, my soul, the life I'd poured into every note, they were just a paycheck to them. And the worst part? They'd planned for post-divorce, like I was a hurdle to clear. Ethan's words echoed, "If she fights, we'll lawyer up." My hands curled into fists, nails biting my palms. "Hey, you think you can break me?" I hissed, rage swallowing the pain. "I'll burn you both down." I didn't sleep that night. The betrayal was a fire in my chest, but it sharpened my focus. I wasn't some naive girl anymore. I was a woman scorned, and I'd fight like hell. I called Arthur at dawn, my voice steady despite the ache. "I need a lawyer, the best you know." He gave me Sarah Hayes, a legal shark who ate liars for breakfast. I met her in a sleek downtown office, the Austin skyline glinting through the windows. I spilled everything: Ethan's betrayal, Isabel's scheme, the contract. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she scanned the files Daniel sent. "They're amateurs," she said, her voice cold. "Greedy, sloppy amateurs. We'll crush them." I nodded, my jaw tight. "I want my music safe. All of it." For 2 weeks, we worked in secret. Sarah set up a trust, locking down my royalties, my songs, even the new sports drink deal. Every contract, every dime, was moved to accounts Ethan and Isabel couldn't touch. Daniel helped, digging deeper into their platform, pulling more evidence, bank transfers, coded messages, proof of their scam. I barely ate, barely slept, fueled by coffee and fury. I'd pace my studio, my guitar untouched, the silence deafening. "I trusted you, Ethan," I'd mutter, picturing his face. "I gave you everything." The pain was raw, like a fresh wound, but it forged something new in me. A steel I didn't know I had. I thought of our early days, when Ethan would slip poems under my pillow, when we'd dance in our kitchen to my demo tracks. Those memories stung, but they also reminded me who I was. I wasn't just Ethan's wife or Isabel's mark. I was Olivia, the girl who turned a garage into a stage, who made millions cry with a song. They wanted to steal my voice. I'd sing louder. They wanted my dreams. I'd fight harder. Sarah laid out the plan. We'd confront them at the contract signing with every piece of evidence ready. "They won't see it coming," she said, a glint in her eye. I nodded, my heart pounding. Good. I want them to choke on it." As the meeting loomed, I sat in my studio, staring at my guitar. It felt like a stranger now, but I picked it up, strumming a single chord. It vibrated through me, a spark in the dark. "This isn't over," I said, my voice low. "I'm just getting started." Ethan and Isabel thought they'd played me, but they'd underestimated one thing. A woman who'd built herself from nothing doesn't break. She fights. And I was ready to bring the house down. The air in the lawyer's office was thick, like the calm before a Texas storm. I was done being the fool. My heart was a war zone, torn between rage and the ghost of the love I'd had for Ethan. But today, I wasn't here to mourn. I was here to fight. The joint venture contract signing was set, and Ethan and Isabel thought they had me cornered, ready to sign my dreams away. They didn't know I'd spent weeks arming myself with evidence, locking my music and money in a trust they couldn't touch. Sarah Hayes, my lawyer, sat beside me, her face a mask of cool confidence. My brother Daniel was there too, his jaw tight, ready to watch Ethan squirm. I gripped the armrests of my chair, my knuckles white, as the Austin skyline glittered through the floor-to-ceiling windows. "Let's do this," I whispered to Sarah. She nodded, her eyes sharp. They're about to choke on their own lies. Ethan and Isabel strutted in, all smug grins and polished suits. Isabel. E's heels clicked on the marble floor, her oversized sunglasses pushed up like a crown. Ethan looked at me, his smile faltering for a split second, a flicker of guilt in his eyes. It stung, that tiny glimpse of the man I'd loved, but I shoved it down. "Olivia, this is it," Isabel chirped, spreading her arms like she was unveiling a prize. "This contract will make you a legend," Ethan nodded, his voice smooth but strained. "It's everything we've worked for, Liv. Just sign, and we're set." I stared at him, my heart pounding, picturing those emails, his arm around her. Their plan to bleed me dry. "Sure, Ethan," I said, my voice steady. "Let's talk about it." Sarah leaned forward, her presence like a blade. "Before we proceed," she said, her tone icy, "we have some clarifications." She slid a thick folder across the table, the evidence Daniel and I had dug up. Emails, photos, bank transfers, their entire disgusting scheme. The room went dead silent. Isabel's smile froze, her eyes darting to the folder like it was a bomb. Ethan's face paled, his hands twitching. "What's this?" he stammered, reaching for it. Sarah's voice cut through like a whip. "I despise people who prey on artists. This is proof of your attempt to defraud Olivia." She flipped open the folder, revealing printed emails. Isabel calling me naive. Ethan admitting he didn't want to hurt me, but needed the money. My stomach churned, but I kept my eyes on them, refusing to flinch. I spoke, my voice low but razor sharp. "I trusted you, Ethan. I gave you my heart, my music, my everything. And you planned to rob me blind with her." I nodded at Isabel, who was gripping the table, her knuckles as white as mine. "I moved my royalties, my songs, my deals, all of it, into a trust. You can't touch a dime." Ethan's mouth opened, but no words came out. He looked like a fish gasping for air. Isabel jumped in, her voice shrill. "This is a misunderstanding, a legal error." Sarah shut her down, tossing out a recording. Daniel had pulled audio from their platform. Isabel laughing about ditching Olivia post-divorce. The sound of her voice, smug and cruel, echoed in the room. I wanted to scream, but I held it together, my nails digging into my palms. Then came the knockout punch. The door opened and a man walked in. Ben, Isabel, former assistant. I recognized him from the anonymous email I'd ignored, the one warning me about her. He was lanky, nervous, but his voice was steady. "I worked for Isabel," he said, facing the room. "I quit because she's a predator. She's done this before. Scammed artists, faked contracts. I've got records." He handed Sarah a USB drive, his eyes meeting mine. "I tried to warn you, Olivia. I'm sorry it came to this." My chest tightened, guilt mixing with gratitude. Thank you," I whispered. Isabel's face twisted, her charm gone. "You're lying," she snapped, but Ben didn't blink. Sarah added, "We're filing charges. Fraud, conspiracy, the works. You're done." Ethan finally broke. "Liv, I didn't mean for it to go this far," he blurted, his voice cracking. It was just a backup plan." A backup plan," I laughed, bitter and cold. "You cheated, lied, and tried to steal my life." "That's not a plan, Ethan. That's betrayal." Daniel, who'd been silent, leaned forward, his voice dripping with disgust. I never thought my brother-in-law could sink this low. Ethan flinched, his eyes darting between us, searching for an out. There wasn't one. Isabel tried to bolt, muttering about calling her lawyer, but Sarah's glare pinned her to the spot. "Sit down," Sarah said. "You're not going anywhere." I stood, my legs steady, despite the storm in my chest. You thought I was some clueless dreamer, didn't you?" I said, looking between them. You thought you could play me, take my music, my soul, but I'm not that girl anymore." I turned to Ethan, my voice softening, not with forgiveness, but with pity. "I loved you, Ethan. I would have given you the world, but you chose this." His eyes glistened, but I didn't care. I'd cried enough. I nodded to Sarah, who stacked the evidence neatly. "We're done here," she said. "Expect legal papers by Monday." As we walked out, Daniel put his arm around me, his voice low. "You nailed it, sis." I nodded, but my heart was heavy. Watching Ethan crumble felt like losing him all over again, but it also felt like freedom. The Austin air hit my face, a warm and sharp, like a new song waiting to be written. Isabel's schemes, Ethan's betrayal. They'd tried to break me, but they'd only made me stronger. I glanced back at the office. Their silhouettes slumped in defeat and felt a spark of pride. "You messed with the wrong woman," I muttered, my lips curving into a grim smile. This wasn't the end, it was my encore, and I was ready to sing. The dust had settled, but the scars still stung. I was standing taller than ever, even if my heart bore the weight of Ethan's betrayal. Austin's skyline glowed outside my new studio window, a reminder that I'd clawed my way out of the wreckage. The confrontation with Ethan and Isabel was weeks behind me, but it felt like yesterday. Their shocked faces, the evidence that crushed their lies. The moment I took back my life, I'd won. But victory tasted bittersweet, like a song that hits every note but leaves you hollow. I'd lost the man I thought I'd grow old with, but I'd found something fiercer. Myself. Now it was time to rebuild, to write the next verse of my story. The divorce was quick, a clean cut through the tangled mess of our marriage. Ethan didn't fight it. How could he, with his lies laid bare? I signed the papers in Sarah Hayes' office, my hands steady, my heart heavy. "You're free, Olivia," Sarah said, her voice softer than usual. I nodded, managing a tight smile. "Free. Yeah." But freedom felt raw, like a fresh wound. Ethan's parents, the Thompsons, sent a letter, their words dripping with apologies. "We're so sorry, Olivia. We raised him better." I read it once, then tucked it away. "I don't need their pity," I muttered, tossing it into a drawer. I was done with their family, done with the ghost of who Ethan used to be. Ethan and Isabel were unraveling, their grand plans reduced to ash. Sarah's lawsuit hit them hard. Fraud, conspiracy, the whole ugly list. The music industry turned on them, their names poison, in every circle that mattered. Isabel Azride's marketing empire collapsed. Her social media accounts, ghost towns as artists she'd scammed, came forward. Ethan lost his freelance gigs, his reputation shredded. I heard he'd moved to some nowhere town, chasing odd jobs, a shadow of the man who'd once dreamed with me. They wanted to steal my light, I said to Daniel over coffee one morning, my voice hard. Now they're the ones in the dark. He smirked, raising his mug. "Karma's a bitch, sis." I didn't laugh, but I felt it. A grim satisfaction, like a chord resolving after dissonance. I turned inward, pouring my energy into what had always saved me. Music. My new studio, a sunlit loft off South Congress, was my sanctuary. No more garage cobwebs or secondhand mics. This was mine, paid for with royalties I'd protected. I'd sit at my mixing board, guitar in my lap, and let the notes spill out. The songs were different now, raw, edged with pain, but laced with defiance. Arthur, my mentor, joined me most days, his gravelly voice guiding me through new tracks. "You're writing from your gut, Liv," he said, puffing a cigarette. "This is your best work yet." I believed him. Every lyric was a piece of me stitched back together, stronger at the seams. The world hadn't forgotten me either. Fading Light was still climbing, and SSW confirmed my main stage slot, a dream I'd chased since I was a kid, strumming in my dad's garage. I'd walk Austin's streets, guitar case bumping my hip, and feel the city's pulse again. Fans stop me sometimes, shy smiles, and stories about how my music get them through heartbreak. "You're so strong," a girl told me at a coffee shop, her eyes wide. I smiled, my throat tight, just figuring it out, like you. But her words stuck. Strong. Yeah, I was. Stronger than Ethan ever gave me credit for. Stronger than Isabel's schemes could break. My family kept me grounded. Daniel was over constantly, cracking jokes, tweaking my studio's tech setup. "You're a badass, Liv," he said one night, handing me a beer. Always were. My parents, too, rallied around me, their pride louder than their worry. Mom would bring casseroles, fussing over my too skinny frame, while Dad bragged about my music to anyone who'd listen. Their love was a lifeline, pulling me through the nights when Ethan's betrayal crept into my dreams. I'd wake up, heart racing, and remind myself, he's gone. You're here. Keep going. I thought about the girl I'd been, wide-eyed, trusting, pouring her soul into songs for a man who'd throw it all away. That girl was gone, replaced by someone harder, wiser, but still burning with passion. I didn't hate Ethan anymore. Hate was too heavy to carry. I pitied him. A man who'd traded love for greed and lost everything. Isabel, too. She was just a leech, feeding off dreams she couldn't create. They don't get to define me, I told my reflection one morning, my eyes fierce. I do. As I stood in my studio, strumming a new riff, I felt it. A spark, like the first note of a song that could change everything. I'd fallen, bled, and risen again. My music, my soul, my dreams, they were mine, untouched by their betrayal. I thought of every woman who'd been burned, who'd had her trust shattered, and I wanted to scream to them, "We're not done. We rise. We fight. We shine." I grabbed my notebook, scribbling lyrics that poured out like a storm. They tried to cage my fire, but I'm burning through the night. It was my anthem, my truth. The biggest twist wasn't Ethan's lies or Isabel's schemes. It was me, becoming a version of myself I never knew I could be. I'd walk onto that SXSW stage, guitar in hand, and sing for every scar, every victory. "This is my story," I said, my voice steady, the Austin sun painting my studio gold. And I'm just getting started.